Namaste, Hare Krishna. Welcome back to the reading of Srimad Bhagavad Gita with me. We are reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita with its translation and commentary by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and also wherever we can find some specific commentary being mentioned by his disciple Swami Bhakti Gaurava Narsingha, who happens to be my Guru. My name is Ashtasakhi Dasi and I am also known as Archana Krishnamurti by some of you. So for those of you who have been regular with me in the reading, you know that we are reading chapter 2 and we will continue the reading today from verse 51. For those of you who are joining in for the first time, may I request you to start listening from the very beginning. I'll be providing the link to the first session and in fact to the entire playlist so that you can sequentially listen from the very first session till wherever we are before you can join us live. And of course, for those of you who are not aware, we are conducting live sessions of 1 hour every Sunday from 11:30 to 12:30. Those of you who are interested in joining these live sessions, may I request you to connect with me on WhatsApp, the number for which I will provide in the description section of this video. So with this, let's get started with the reading, friends. Verse 51. Karma jam buddhi yukta hi phalam tyaktva manishinaha janma bandha vinirmuktaha padam gacchati anamayam. Translation: the wise engaged in devotional service take refuge in the Lord and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can attain that state beyond all miseries. Purport: the liberated living entities seek that place where there are no material miseries. The Bhagavatam says, Samashrita ye padapallava plavam mahat padam punya yasho murareha bhavam buddhir vatsa padam param padam yad vipadam na tesham. This is mentioned in Bhagavatam 10th canto 14th chapter verse 58, which means, for one who has accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Mukunda, or the giver of mukti, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in a calf's footprint. Parampadam, or the place where there are no material miseries, or Vaikuntha, is his goal, not the place where there is danger in every step of life. Owing to ignorance, one does not know that this material world is a miserable place where there are dangers at every step. Out of ignorance only, less intelligent persons try to adjust to the situation by fruitive activities, thinking that resultant actions will make them happy. They do not know that no kind of material body anywhere within the universe can give life without miseries. The miseries of life, namely birth, death, old age, and diseases, are present everywhere within this material world. But one who understands his real constitutional position as the eternal servitor of the Lord and thus knows the position of the personality of Godhead, engages himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Consequently, he becomes qualified to enter into the Vaikuntha planets where there is neither material, miserable life nor the influence of time and death. To know one's constitutional position means to know also the sublime position of the Lord. One who wrongly thinks that the living entity's position and the Lord's position are on the same level is to be understood to be in darkness and therefore unable to engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. He becomes a lord himself and thus paves the way for the repetition of birth and death. But one who, understanding that his position is to serve, transfers himself to the service of the Lord, at once becomes eligible for Vaikuntha Loka. Service for the cause of the Lord is called Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, or in plain words, devotional service to the Lord. Verse 52. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatita rishyati tada gantasi nirvedam shrotavyasya shrutayasya cha. Translation: when your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Purport: there are many good examples in the lives of the great devotees of the Lord, of those who became indifferent to the rituals of the Vedas simply by devotional service to the Lord. When a person factually understands Krishna and his relationship with Krishna, he naturally becomes completely indifferent to the rituals of fruitive activities, even though an experienced Brahmana. Sri Madhavendra Puri, a great devotee and acharya in the line of the devotees, says, Sandhya Vandana Bhadram Astu Bhavato Bhoha Snana Tubhyam Namo Bho Devaha Pitarascha Tarpana Vidhau Naham Kshamaha Kshamyatam Yatra Kwapi Nishadya Yadava Kulo Tamasya Kamsa Dvishaha Smaram Smaram Agham Harami Tad Alam Manye Kim Anyename, which means, O Lord, in my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. Bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. I'm sorry, I just pressed the wrong button and I am at a place I shouldn't be, so let me just get back, bear with me. Okay, so the Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for neophytes, comprehending all kinds of prayer 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respects to the forefathers, etc. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and is engaged in his transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulative principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended in revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that the purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engages in the rituals, etc., then he is uselessly wasting time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Shabda Brahma or the range of the Vedas and Upanishads. Verse 53. Shruti viprati pannate यदा स्थास्यति निश्चला समाधाव अचला बुद्धिस तदा yogam avapsyasi. Translation: when your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Purport: to say that one is in samadhi is to say that one has fully realized Krishna consciousness. That is, one in full samadhi has realized Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The highest perfection of self-realization is to understand that one is eternally the servitor of Krishna and that one's only business is to discharge one's duties in Krishna consciousness. A Krishna conscious person or unflinching devotee of the Lord should not be disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, nor be engaged in fruitive activities for promotion to the heavenly kingdom. In Krishna consciousness, one comes directly into communion with Krishna, and thus all directions from Krishna may be understood in that transcendental state. One is sure to achieve results by such activities and attain conclusive knowledge. One has only to carry out the orders of Krishna or his representative, the spiritual master. At this point, friends, I would also like to read the purport as given by Swami Bhakti Gaurava Narsingha. To be situated in transcendence means to be liberated from the three modes of material nature: Tamaguna, Rajaguna, and Sattvaguna, the modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness. Yoga is the practice of becoming situated beyond the modes of nature. Everyone in the material world is under the three modes of nature, and only a true yogi can surpass these modes. Our activities are categorized in three ways: as action prescribed by the Vedas, karma; unauthorized action, vikarma; and transcendental action, akarma. Karma means those activities that derive a good result and sometimes promote one to higher planets or higher standards of living. Vikarma are those activities that are against the Vedic injunctions and cause suffering to the self and to other living creatures. Akarma means those activities that have neither good nor bad reactions. One who is wise and who knows the science of yoga always strives to perform the activities of akarma. Such yogis are known as bhakti yogis and can easily situate themselves in transcendence. Other systems of yoga such as Ashtanga Yoga, Raja Yoga, Kundalini Yoga, Hatha Yoga, and Kriya Yoga can also reach transcendence, but the path is very difficult, especially in this modern age. Sri Krishna is known as Yogeshwara, the supreme master of yoga, and although Bhagavad Gita discusses other yoga systems, it is the Bhakti Yoga system that Krishna ultimately recommends. The yogi situated in Bhakti Yoga is always engaged in devotional activities to satisfy the supreme master of yoga, Sri Krishna. Thus, the Bhakti Yogi is always in complete control of his senses. Without control of the senses, no one can perform meditation or engage in spiritual practices properly. Therefore, the Bhakti Yogi is the topmost yogi because he is engaged in the topmost yoga system. There are 8 mystical perfections of yoga known as the Ashtasiddhis. These perfections are Anima Siddhi, becoming very small; Laghima Siddhi, becoming lighter than air; Prapti Siddhi, being able to retrieve anything from anywhere, such as extending one's hand while in New York and picking a mango growing in India; Mahima Siddhi, to become heavier than the heaviest; Ishitva Siddhi, to create something wonderful or to destroy anything at will; Vashitva Siddhi, to control the material elements; Prakamya Siddhi, the ability to fulfill all of one's desires, and Kama Vasayita Siddhi, the ability to assume any form one wishes. As the master of yoga, Krishna has these 8 yoga perfections in full. It is sometimes claimed by yogis that they have achieved one or more of these Ashtasiddhis, and such seems to have been relatively common in ancient times. But in modern times, the claim of having one of the Ashtasiddhis more often than not turns out to be fraudulent or simply a show to attract many followers. With the rise in popularity of yoga, false claims of Ashtasiddhis have become a lucrative business. A higher aspiration for the yogi is not the achievement of the Ashtasiddhis, but the achievement of Samadhi in Bhakti Yoga, because such achievement frees one from the cycle of birth and death. So with this, friends, we will conclude the reading for today. Thank you for joining me. Please stay safe, and I will see you again soon. Hare Krishna.